There's a system that quietly runs the entire world economy. And it's not the one you're thinking of. It's not the banking system. It's not the stock market. It's not even the Federal Reserve. It's older than the internet, bigger than any single country, and most people have never heard its name. For over 50 years, this one system has kept the US dollar sitting on top of the entire planet. It's the reason America can borrow trillions and barely feel it. It's the reason a single US sanction can freeze an entire nation out of the global economy. And here's the strange part. It all starts with something you probably use today without thinking about it. Oil. By the end of this video, you'll understand the invisible machine behind the dollar. And why, after 50 years, it's finally starting to crack. If you're the kind of person who likes understanding how the world actually works under the hood, do me a quick favor and hit that subscribe button. It genuinely helps more people find these breakdowns. All right, let's get into it. Let's start with a simple question. Why does oil matter so much? Think about your morning. The coffee shipped across an ocean, the phone built from plastic, the car, the bus, the road itself, the fertilizer that grew your breakfast. Almost none of it exists without oil. Oil isn't just fuel. It's in your plastics, your medicine, your clothes, your packaging. It moves every product on Earth, from a factory to your front door. So here's the result. Oil is the single most traded commodity on the planet. Every country needs it, every single day. Nobody gets to opt out. And hold on to that idea. Everyone needs oil. Because that one fact is about to become the most powerful financial lever in modern history. But before oil enters the story, we have to answer a different question. Why the dollar? Why not the British pound or gold itself? Rewind to the end of World War II. Most of the world lay in ruins. Europe was rebuilding from rubble. But one country had come out stronger than ever, the United States. America had the factories, the gold, and the muscle. So in 1944, the world's powers met in a small town in New Hampshire called Bretton Woods. And they made a decision that shaped the next century. They agreed to anchor the global economy to the US dollar. And the dollar, in turn, was anchored to gold. Every dollar could, in theory, be traded in for a fixed amount of gold sitting in American vaults. It was clean. It was trusted. The dollar became the world's reserve currency. The money that other countries held on to and used to trade with each other. For a while, the system worked beautifully, but it had a hidden crack in it. And by 1971, that crack was about to split wide open. Here's the problem. America kept printing dollars to fund wars, to fund growth, to fund spending. But there was only so much gold in those vaults. Slowly, the math stopped adding up. There were way more dollars floating around the world than there was gold to back them. Other countries noticed, and they started getting nervous. France even began shipping its dollars back to America, demanding the gold in return. It was the beginning of a run on the bank. Except the bank was the United States. So in 1971, President Nixon went on television and did something dramatic. He cut the cord. The dollar would no longer be backed by gold. Just like that. From that moment on, the dollar was fiat. A fancy word that just means money backed by trust, instead of metal. It was worth something simply because everyone agreed it was worth something. And that raised a terrifying question for America. If the dollar isn't backed by gold anymore, what's stopping the rest of the world from walking away from it? The US needed a new reason for the world to keep wanting dollars. And in 1973, a crisis handed them the perfect one. In 1973, war broke out in the Middle East, and oil-producing nations slammed the brakes on supply. Prices exploded. Gas lines stretched for blocks. The American economy got hit hard. But out of that chaos came a quiet deal that changed everything. The United States went to the largest oil producer in the world, Saudi Arabia, and offered them something simple but enormous. The deal was this. Saudi Arabia would sell its oil to the world in one currency only, the US dollar. In return, America would protect them. Military support, weapons, security. The Saudis said yes, and one by one, the other major oil producers, the OPEC nations, followed. From then on, if you wanted to buy oil, you didn't pay in your own money. You paid in dollars. That's the moment the petrodollar was born. The dollar wasn't backed by gold anymore. Now it was backed by something the entire world needed even more. Oil. Now connect the dots, because this is where it gets clever. Every country on Earth needs oil. We established that. But now, to buy oil, you first need US dollars. So picture you're Japan, or Germany, or Brazil. You don't produce enough oil yourself. You have to import it. But your own currency is useless at the pump. The seller only takes dollars. So what do you have to do? You have to go out and get dollars. And not just a few. You have to stockpile them. Keep huge reserves of them on hand, all the time, just to keep your economy running. Suddenly, the whole world isn't just using dollars. The whole world is hoarding them. And that created something no other currency in history ever had. A permanent, built-in, planet-wide demand for the US dollar that has nothing to do with America itself. People need dollars just to function. And if this is the first time the dollar's grip on the world is actually clicking into place for you, drop a comment below with the word petrodollar. I love seeing who's still with me this deep into the breakdown. Okay, here's where it pays off for America. So what does America actually get out of all this? 3 enormous advantages. First, cheap borrowing. Because the world constantly needs to park its dollars somewhere safe, it lends that money back to the US government by buying American debt. That lets America borrow trillions at interest rates almost no other country could dream of. Second, a strong, stable dollar. When the whole world is always demanding your currency, its value stays high. American consumers can buy imported goods cheaply. American power projects everywhere. And third, the big one, control. Because nearly all global oil and trade flows through the dollar system, America holds the master switch. If the US wants to punish a country, it can cut them off from the dollar network entirely. No banks, no trade, no oil purchases. That's what a financial sanction really is. It's the petrodollar turned into a weapon. No army required. Just the power to say, you can't use the money everyone else uses. But there's one more piece, and it's the most elegant part of the whole machine. Think about what happens to all those dollars after a country buys oil. Saudi Arabia and other oil producers end up sitting on mountains of US dollars. Way more than they can spend. So what do they do with it? They don't stuff it under a mattress. They invest it right back into America. US government bonds, American companies, real estate, stocks. The money flows out of America to buy oil, and then flows right back in as investment. Economists have a name for this. They call it petrodollar recycling. And it forms a perfect loop. A country buys oil with dollars. The oil producer earns those dollars. The producer invests them back into the United States. That strengthens the US economy and the dollar, which makes everyone want dollars even more. Which means they buy more oil in dollars. And the whole circle spins again. It's a financial engine that, once started, keeps powering itself. For 50 years, that loop has been turning, quietly, in the background of the entire world. So if the system is this strong, this self-reinforcing, why did I say it's starting to crack? Because lately, a few countries have started doing something that would have been unthinkable not long ago. They've started buying and selling oil without the dollar. China and Russia have begun trading energy in their own currencies. A group of major economies known as the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and others, have openly talked about reducing their dependence on the dollar. The motivation is simple. After watching America use the dollar as a weapon, freezing other nations out with sanctions, some countries decided they don't want to be that exposed anymore. They don't want one country holding the master switch over their economy. So the question hanging over the global economy right now is a big one. Could the petrodollar actually be replaced? And here's where most people get it wrong. They assume that if a few countries switch currencies, the dollar just falls. It's not that simple. And the easiest way to understand why is to think about social media. Imagine everyone you know is on one app. All your friends, all your messages, all your photos, they're all there. Now a new app launches. Maybe it's even a little better. Do you switch? Probably not. Not because the new app is bad, but because everyone else is still on the old one. The value isn't the app. The value is that everyone's already there. The dollar is exactly like that. It's not just the currency on the receipt. It's woven into everything. The contracts, the insurance, the pricing, the banking systems, the deep pools of buyers and sellers who can move billions of dollars at a moment's notice without crashing the market. That last part has a name: liquidity. And the dollar has more of it than anything else on earth. You can move enormous sums instantly, and there's always someone on the other side of the trade. To truly replace the dollar, a country wouldn't just need a new currency. It would need to rebuild that entire web of trust and convenience from scratch. And no one has come close. So where does that leave us? The trend is real. The world is slowly, carefully beginning to spread its bets, moving a little less of its trade and reserves into the dollar, a little more into other currencies, and into gold. But slowly is the key word. This isn't a switch that flips overnight. It's a tide that turns over decades. For now, the petrodollar still stands. The dollar is still the king. The loop is still spinning. America still holds the switch. But for the first time in 50 years, the rest of the world is openly asking whether it has to stay that way. And here's the thing. Oil isn't even the whole story anymore, because while everyone's watching the petrodollar, China has been quietly building something else. It's not just trading oil outside the dollar. It's been buying up enormous amounts of gold. And there may be a much bigger strategy hiding underneath it, but that is a story for the next video. If this finally made the petrodollar make sense, do 3 quick things for me. Hit that like button, subscribe so you catch the follow-up on China and gold, and tell me down in the comments, do you think the dollar will still be on top 10 years from now? I read every single one. I'll see you in the next one.